He broke his penis 3 times? Seriously? 3 times? Once is plenty. I'm Dr. Rena Malik, urologist and pelvic surgeon, and today we're going to talk about what it means to break your penis. If you're new here, I make all sorts of urologic content, including discussing sexual health, bladder health, and much, much more. So if you like what you see, make sure you subscribe and share this channel with your friends. So what exactly they're talking about when they say breaking your penis is something we call a penile fracture. However, it's not like a bone. The penis, even though we call it affectionately a boner, it does not actually have any bones inside of it. And so what happens is during intercourse, when the penis is engorged with lots of blood inside, if it's bent very forcefully or hits the pubic bone or any other part of the female genitalia very forcefully, that can result in a penile fracture. So what happens is when you're having vigorous intercourse and the tissues are erect and filled with blood, they have a layer outside of them called the tunica. And that tunica, when the penis is bent forcefully, can rupture. You can hear a pop or a kind of a loud sound, and then your penis can get immediately detumesced or flaccid essentially, and it can cause the penis to get really kind of discolored and purplish, what we call an eggplant penis. And so ultimately, we can tell right away when you come into the ER, hey, I heard this pop or this cracking sound during intercourse, and all of a sudden I had serious pain and my erection went away. And so that's a classic sign of a penile fracture. So what causes this? Well, certainly vigorous intercourse and certain positions like reverse cowgirl or when you're entering from behind can be particularly dangerous because if the penis slips out during intercourse, it can then be bent pretty aggressively and that can cause a fracture. Outside of that, certainly very aggressive masturbation techniques or if you fall or roll over when you have an erection. Interestingly, in some parts of the country in the Middle East, they forcefully bend the penis to cause a detumescence or to make the erection go away, and very often in those parts of the country that's a common cause of penile fractures. So what happens if you find yourself in this situation? Well, don't delay, get to the emergency room immediately because this will not get better on its own. It requires a surgical repair. So you need to get to the emergency room as soon as possible. Typically, if you come in and you have a pretty standard story of what happened, we take you directly to the emergency room. We do have to evaluate the urethra or the P-tube because in rare situations, the urethra can get injured too, and that can require repair as well. And typically, we'll look at that in the operating room when you're asleep with a camera to make sure there are no injuries. And if there are, we will repair them at the same time. If we're not exactly sure, if the story doesn't quite line up or the exam is not as bad as we think it is, or you're not in as much pain as we expect you to be, then we might get an MRI to really confirm if there is a fracture or not before taking you to the operating room. The key to having a good outcome from this horrible complication that you can have from sex is to have surgery as soon as possible. It's actually been shown in the literature that people who have this surgery within 8 hours of the injury do far better than those who wait 36 hours or 3 days or longer. In fact, the risk of having a curvature after this repair is less than 5%, and the risk of erectile dysfunction is extremely low. So if you get to the emergency room quickly and get to the operating room and get this repaired, it's very unlikely to cause any problems. But if you delay, that risk of having curvature is higher, as well as having other wound complications or having erectile dysfunction. So make sure that you get to the ER immediately to get evaluated and get into the operating room. And lastly, how can you prevent this from happening? Well, make sure that during intercourse you communicate with your partner. If the penis happens to fall out, make sure you communicate, let your partner know that it's fallen out and you need to reposition, and also make sure that you're in control. Hope you found that interesting. As always, remember to take care of yourself because you're worth it.